Welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. This week, we're back to Bloomburrow with more new commanders. First up is Sam on Zinnia, Valley's Voice. This deck uses the Offspring mechanic to make copies of impactful creatures and bring the pain with Zinnia. Next up is Caden on our patron Ivern's Zoraline Cosmos Collar list. This Kindred Bats deck seeks to use Zoraline to fuel life gain synergies and grind out value by reanimating non-land permanents. Our third player is Cameron on Ygra, Eater of All. Cameron's looking to turn creatures into artifacts, get them out of play, then go for the one-shots with a large Ygra. Last up is Ethan on our patron Alcus's Helga Skittish Seer list. This deck is Simic plus white, looking to generate a ton of value off of high-costed creatures and maybe win with a cheeky Labman. We're about to get into the game, but before you do that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know who you want to win, and while you're down there, check out our socials and the deck list in the description. Our channel is partnered with Dragon Shield. If you're looking to pick up any sleeves or magic-related products, use the link below and use the code SMOOTH5 for 5% off your order. We're also partnered with Inked Gaming. Check out the affiliate link below if you want to pick up any custom playmats. Now, on to the game.
It looks like Caden wins the die roll. He'll play Lupin Flower Village and pass to Cameron. Cameron will start his turn off with a Nurturing Peatland. He'll tap it for a green, losing a life, and he'll cast Gilded Goose and get a food token. He passes, and Ethan plays Misty Rainforest and fetches. He announces he's going to find a Spara's headquarters and passes to Sam while searching. And, well, you saw Sam's opening hand. He'll play an island, into Soul Ring, into Arcane Signet, and then pass to Caden. Caden will start off with a basic swamp, and then he'll play Cover of Darkness. I wonder what creature type he chooses. And then he'll pass to Cameron, who starts off with a basic forest, and then thanks to the goose being loose, he's able to cast Viridian Revel, and then he'll pass to Ethan. Ethan will just play a basic island, and then pass the turn to Sam, who starts off with a Boros Signet. He'll then play a Ganjua's land for turn, and then he'll tap for 3 and cast Zinnia, Valley's Voice, and then he passes to Caden. Caden starts off with Exotic Orchard, then he'll cast a Ruin Lurker Bat, and then he'll cast Karlov of the Ghost Council, and then the turn is passed to Cameron, who starts off with a basic forest, and then he'll tap for 2 and cast an Arcane Signet. Then he'll tap for an additional 2 and cast Vine Reap Mentor. When he DTBs, he makes a food token. He'll then pass the turn, but Ethan stops on end step to cast Planar Genesis. This lets him look at the top 4 cards of his library, and then he'll choose Hinterland Harbor and put it onto the battlefield tapped. We'll then move to Ethan's turn, and he'll do a bit of shortcutting for us. He'll play a Prismatic Vista and crack it for a forest. While he's in there, he goes ahead and casts his 3 visits, which will shock in a Temple Garden. And with 3 mana still open, he's able to cast his commander, Helga. And then he'll pass the turn. Sam will start off by tapping for 4 and casting Nesting Dovehawk, and then he decides, oh wait, I actually want to offspring that, so he'll pay an additional 2. Cat cam. Anyways, the Dovehawk resolves. When it ETBs, Sam makes a 1/1 token copy of it. This also triggers the OG, putting a 1/1 counter on it. Sam will then move to combat, and he gets to populate twice. Of course, he's making 2 more Nesting Dovehawks. When the 3rd one comes in, the other 2 will get counters, and when the 4th one comes in, the 3 others will get a +1/+1 counter. Oh dear, this is gonna get out of hand. And just for reference, Sam will be keeping track of counters with the wooden dice, and he'll use colorful dice to represent Zinnia's power. And since Sam's in combat, he'll move on to declare attackers, and he'll swing for 4 at Cameron. Cameron could block with his goose, but then the goose won't be loose, so he'll take 4 commander. And post-combat, the turn is passed to Caden, who starts off with a basic plains, then he'll tap for 5 to cast an Offspring Darkstar Augur. So when it ETBs, he gets a 1/1 copy of it. Then he'll swing a 1/1 with Lifelink and Fear at Cameron. This also triggers Karlov. Then he'll pass the turn to Cameron, and he'll start off with a basic swamp. With that, he's now able to cast his commander, Ygra, Eater of All. He's got nothing after that, so let's move to Ethan's turn, where he'll start off with a basic plains. He'll then tap for 4 and cast a Beast Whisperer, and what do you know, that's mana value 4, so his commander, Helga, will trigger, she'll get a counter, he'll gain a life, and draw a card. And with that, he's able to tap her for 2, and then he'll tap 2 lands to cast Breaching Hippocamp. Double cast triggers, he'll draw 2, gain 1, and Helga gets a counter. Then when the Hippocamp ETBs, Ethan will untap Helga. He'll then tap her for 3 green and evoke out Foundation Breaker. Mana value is still technically 4 even when you evoke it, so triggers. He'll draw 2, get a counter, and gain a life. Then when Foundation Breaker ETBs, he'll destroy Viridian Revel, and then it'll sacrifice itself. A Ygra trigger is missed. The turn is then passed to Sam, and Sam will just move straight to combat and get 4 populate triggers. 4 more Nesting Dovehawks hit the field, and counters are spread around. On to declare attackers, Sam will swing with everything that can. Zinnia and 5 go at Cameron, OG and a 6 power one go at Caden for a total of 15, and then 7 goes at Ethan. Moving to blocks, Caden blocks the 9/9 with his copy of Darkstar Augur, Cameron will take the full 13, 8 of which is Commander, and then Ethan will just take his 7. Also, there's a Ygra trigger. Let's move to post-combat now, where Sam will cast and offspring Imperial Recruiter. Not only is he tutoring 2 creatures, but this will also put counters on all of his Dovehawks. And we've also run out of wooden dice, so we just have to be smart and differentiate. Anyways, those 2 Imperial Recruiters will find Ocelot Pride and Agate Instigator. Then he'll pass the turn to Caden. And on upkeep, he has a Darkstar Augur trigger. It reveals Starscape Cleric, so he puts it to his hand and loses 2 life. Everyone at the table begins a group meeting, well, except for Sam, to try to figure out how to deal with Sam. Cameron lets it slip that he's probably just going to try to get Viridian Revel back on his turn. And Ethan says, "Whoa, I have a board wipe in hand, but casting that into Ygra and Viridian Revel will draw Cameron 17 cards on this current board." So he asks Caden if there's any way to get a best case scenario out of this, and Caden says, "Actually, yes, there is. But first I'm going to move to combat." Ethan is hit for 1 lifelink in the air, and Karlov grows. Now let's see Caden's solution. He will Swords to Plowshares Ygra. There is a ward trigger, and he sacrifices his Darkstar Augur, which grows Ygra, but Ygra will be exiled and Cameron will gain 10 life. Then the turn is passed to Cameron, and he'll start off with Rise of the Witch King. So everyone sacrifices a creature, and Cameron sacrifices his Vine Reap Mentor, so he returns Viridian Revel and makes another food upon death. Then he'll pass the turn to Ethan. And Ethan starts off by tapping Helga for blue and evoking Null Drifter. Cast triggers. He'll draw a total of 4, get a counter on Helga, and gain a life. Then after this, he'll cast Nurturing Pixie. He'll draw on cast, and then when it ETBs, he bounces Beast Whisperer to his hand. Then after this, he'll tap for 5 mana and cast Starfall Invocation, and he gifts a card to Caden. And it resolves, so all creatures are destroyed and Caden will draw a card. And since a gift was promised, he's able to return a creature from his graveyard that was destroyed this way. It's going to be Helga. Ethan will then pass the turn, but Cameron stays on end step and decides to Beseiju Sam's Soul Ring to A, draw a card, and B, put Sam down on 1 mana. Sam finds Elegant Parlor and surveils 1 to the top. Then Ethan discards Noble Hierarch on cleanup, and then he'll pass the turn to Sam. He'll just tap for 5 and drop Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. That is actually pretty good against these creature decks. He'll then pass the turn to Caden, who starts off with a Secluded Courtyard. I wonder what creature type he names. Then he'll tap for 3 and cast Zoraline. Unfortunately, no ETB trigger. But after this, he'll cast his Starscape Cleric and then pass the turn to Cameron. And he starts off with a Llanowar Wastes. Then he'll cast a Canker Bloom and then just pass the turn. Ethan starts off with a Windswept Heath, which he will immediately fetch with. And he'll just find a basic forest. Then he'll tap for 4 and cast Beast Whisperer, Helga trigger. Then he'll cast Inga and Essica, double cast trigger. Ethan will then move to cleanup and discard a land, and then pass the turn to Sam. And Sam starts out with Beza, the Bounding Spring, double ETB trigger. Sam's got the most life, so when he resolves the first one, he'll get 2 fish, a card, and a treasure. And then when the second trigger resolves, he just makes a treasure. After this, he'll tap for 1 and sack a treasure to cast Lightning Greaves. Treasure does see the graveyard, so Cameron draws a card. Then the Mother of Machines is given Shroud and Haste. Then the turn is passed. And the first thing Caden does is move to combat and swing for 3 commander at Sam. And also 2 regular with Starscape Cleric. Attack triggers! Caden will gain 1 life twice, which will cause his opponents to lose 1 life twice, and then his commander will trigger, and he'll pay Orzhov and 2 life to return Darkstar Augur from his graveyard to the battlefield. And it gets a finality counter. Sam then takes his 5 combat damage. Post-combat, Caden will cast Alseid of Life's Bounty, then he'll pass the turn to Cameron, who will stop on end step to sacrifice his Canker Bloom to blow up Lightning Greaves. This will also draw him a card. Then we'll move to his turn, where he starts off with a basic forest. Then he'll tap for 7 and recast his commander. He'll then pass the turn to Ethan, who starts off with a Brainstorm. And then after drawing 3 and putting 2 back, he'll shuffle his deck up with a Nature's Lore. And this finds him just a basic forest. Then after this, he'll tap for 4 and cast Witch Enchanter. This Enchanter. Cast triggers, but no ETB trigger. Yeah, Ethan's hand is full of just stuff and ETB triggers, so he'll just cast an Arcane Signet, and then a Crystal Shard, and then he just passes the turn to Sam, who starts off with an Urza's Saga as land for turn. Then he'll tap for 4 to cast and offspring Agate Instigator. And thanks to Elish Norn, he gets 2 token copies of it that are 1/1s. Now how this should work is the first one should enter and each of his opponents take 2, and when the second one enters, each of his opponents take 4. But Smooth Brain moment of the day, they just enter them both at the same time and everyone takes 4. Anyways, moving on, Sam will move to combat and swing for 4 at Caden, who just takes it. The turn is then passed to Caden, who will reveal Blind Obedience to Darkstar Augur and lose 2 life. Then he'll cast the Blind Obedience. Then a Voice of the Blessed. Caden will then move to combat, and he swings at Sam with the same attacks as last time. Attack triggers, and he resolves his commanders first, so he'll pay Orzhov and 2 life to return Karlov to the battlefield. Then he'll gain 2, and this causes his opponents to lose 2, and then Karlov gets 4 counters. Oh yeah, and Voice of the Blessed gets 2 as well, and then Sam will take his 5 damage. And then a misplay happens. I'm really not sure what happens, but Caden somehow thinks he gains 1 life 4 times instead of twice, but it is caught later. And for some reason he thinks Zoraline's reanimation says gain 2 life, not pay 2 life. That one is not caught. So yeah, there's extra counters put on Voice of the Blessed and Karlov, and Caden gains an additional 2, and each of his opponents lose an additional 1. Alright, you get 2 Smooth Brain moments today. They don't affect the game though. Anyways, the turn is passed to Cameron. And he starts off with Scavenger's Talent. Then he'll level it up to level 2. Then he'll put Rancor on Ygra. Then level up his Scavenger's Talent to the 3rd level. Cameron will then move to his end step and sacrifice his food token, his Rancor, and his Arcane Signet to return Cankerbloom to the battlefield. This puts 3 Mill 2 triggers on the stack, and he'll mill 5 lands and a Mazarek. And since a food was sacrificed, Ygra gets 2 counters. Then Ethan will stay on end step and cast a Growth Spiral. This draws him a card, and he'll put in Bountiful Promenade, and then we'll move to his turn, where he'll start off with a Brain Surge. He'll draw 4, put 2 back, and then cast Shulain, Teller of Tales. I know there's at least one of you in the comments right now telling me it's pronounced Hullen. I'm actually not sure, let me know. Anyways, several cast triggers. After that happens, Ethan will tap his commander for 5 blue, and then he'll cast Galadriel, Light of Valinor. He'll still have 2 blue floating. Cast triggers. Then he'll cast a Solemn Simulacrum, more cast triggers, but no ETB trigger. Oh yeah, and the True Lane cast trigger will put in Reliquary Tower. Then the turn is passed to Sam, and his Urza Saga will tick up. He'll then tap for 3 and cast Aether Channeler. With double triggers, it'll ETB and all of his opponents will take 6, and he'll have it create 2 1/1 bird tokens, which has them each take an additional 12. He'll then cast Volatile Stormdrake, double ETB triggers again, his opponents each take 6, and this will kill Cameron. And what he takes really doesn't matter, because he'll just drop Ocelot Pride after that and kill Ethan and Caden. So yeah, just like that, Sam wins. Congratulations. Well, here we are at the end of the video. What did you guys think? Sam had a pretty explosive start and became a big threat early on, got some free damage in, and really was just unstoppable because of that explosive start. Let us know what you thought down in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to check out all of our links in the description. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed our 2 Bloomburrow games, but that's all from me today, so I hope you all have a smooth day.